Yo, what is up, guys? Welcome to another episode. Man, we're just banging them out over here, and it's been a lot of fun, and it's been a hell of a journey. We're really just getting started, man. For all you new guys that are here, do me a favor, man. Subscribe to the channel. Smash the like button. Really helps us shoot that algorithm up. You hear me talk about it all the time, but it is the one thing that really gets our videos shown out there because we're trying to make this huge push for blue collar. I don't know about you guys, but if you're in the trade space and you look around, there aren't a ton of new guys coming in, and that's kind of the mission that we're putting out there now. You know, this message, yes, is for you guys who are already out in the field, but in truth, a lot of this message is geared towards guys that are kind of on the fence and don't know what the want to do, and that's all well and good, but that's what we're here for. While you're at it, man, I appreciate all you guys who have supported the channel already, who have supported us on all the other social media platforms. We're definitely out there, and we're pushing things really hard right now. So it's greatly appreciated that you guys are here, and we're just going to keep going, man. There's no other way to do it. On this episode, though, I really wanted to get into leadership. And the name of this is going to be basically Leadership Under Pressure, and I bring that up for a reason, and I'm going to tell you all about it. And it's an explanation that I can give, and it's also a place that I stand on that I can speak very highly to. Right now, you see a guy that's definitely a lot more relaxed. Obviously, I'm a little bit older now, and as part of that comes with maturity, I guess. But the other part of that just comes with working on myself. You know, I've done deep dives into me and who I am and who I want to be and how I strive to be in leadership. And I am grateful for so many things. I mean, first of all, being in my own business, you kind of have to learn that, you know. I worked for guys that led from a place of anger, and it really didn't work out for the team. But for me, I really strive to work hard to have my team, you know, everybody going in the same direction. There's a saying that I always, you know, come up with, and I don't own it or anything. You've probably heard it out there, but basically, like, to me, it's like being on a rowboat, you know. And if you've ever been rowing on a boat with multiple people, you have oars on both sides. And sometimes what happens is when one guy's digging a little bit too deep or the other guy's not doing anything, all you do is spin in a circle. So I talk a lot about rowing the boat in one direction because at the end of the day, you're just as good as a leader as you are the rest of your team, and how you show up is more or less how they're going to show up. It's very similar to parenting, which is a whole nother conversation and not something for this channel. With that being said, man, I when I first came into the business and I was learning from my father, he had a way about him that to me wasn't the best. Yes, he could teach. Yes, he was a wealth of knowledge. Yes, I extracted a lot of lessons through my experiences with him. But as anybody else in a position of leadership, you also have to learn from the things that work and the things that don't work. And when your opportunity comes, which for some of us it does come, for some of us maybe it doesn't come, but if you strive to be a good leader, there are things you can do to push yourself ahead of the competition, per se. And one of those things is really learning to be more relaxed in fiery, stressful situations. And that was one of my downsides very early on in my career because I was very much a hothead. Smallest things would send me over the edge. And then it was hard to kind of rein myself back in. And as somebody who's leading men, it's very hard to lead that way. I mean, imagine yourself on the job and you're the guy that you look towards for answers or calmness is the one in chaos, then everybody else ends up in chaos. So I had to learn really quick how to keep calm in the most chaotic situations and realize that there's always an answer to a problem. There is, and that's a fact. That's something you guys are going to have to learn as you evolve and as you grow. I appreciate you guys following along. And again, you know, you'll always hear me talk about things. And I'm not a researcher this way. I speak to you off the cuff because these are my experiences and I realize the things that work and don't work. Now, they work and don't work for me. And I know they'll work and don't work for you if you put the proper steps in place to evolve in a way that is going to help you and your team also evolve. You know, they're really going to take your lead on a lot of things. I noticed that in my father's organization, he operated a certain way and the results showed, right? The guys put in their work, but they were, you know, there wasn't a lot of joy in the work. And I know this isn't about being joyful or creating happiness or good vibes and all that, but I see it differently because I also understand that with some of this newer generation that is willing to come in, there is a way that we have to deal with scenarios differently than we dealt with back in the day, you know? Some of my old school guys are a little bit more cut and dry, and they have no problem telling you what's on their mind. And that's fine for someone like me because I can operate under those, you know, scenarios because that's how I came up. But some of these younger guys, you know, you have to kind of deal with them a little bit differently. And I'm not knocking them, you know, it's just a different generation. They came up differently than us. Like I always say, from a technological standpoint, I came up at the perfect time because technology really didn't start to like take off till I was out of high school already. So I had already learned the skills of having face-to-face conversations, having in-person conversations, talking a little honestly. And I was in construction young, so construction sites, especially on the private level, but I'm sure on the union level as well, there's a lot of talking that goes on, and it was always in good fun, you know. But these days you kind of have to go about things a little bit different. You have to go about your business a little bit different. So I learned over the years to keep calm, because when stressful situations come, and they are going to come. I mean, if you're in the trades, and I hate to be so repetitive, but in every one of these videos, you're going to hear me talk about these messages are for anybody in the trades, anybody that's blue collar. It's not, you know, specific to my industry. This is like a multiple industry conversation that I continuously have. All these topics that I come up with are blanketed for each industry, because leadership is in every aspect of our life. It's even in non-blue collar types of jobs, right? There's always leadership. And how do you want to lead? Me, I'm somebody that leads from the front. What do I mean by that? I'm out in the field, you know. I'm dealing with the stresses firsthand with my guys. You know, I'm making sure that they have everything they need and that they're never out there by themselves. I'm not telling you that's how you have to lead, but when your opportunity comes to show leadership, to take somebody under your wing, that you do it with respect and you do it in a certain way that guy sees you and goes, that's a guy I want to follow into the darkness. And in our type of world, unfortunately, the paper pushers sometimes don't exactly get the respect that maybe they deserve. And I kind of understand that. As a guy who's always working my hands, I'm always going to have more respect for the guys in the field because I'm a field guy. So I understand the stresses of the physical and the mental labor that go into doing these jobs on a daily basis. But I learned over the years of somebody that never stayed calm to stay calm. And now that it's my company, between reading books, listening to podcasts, educating myself, going through the experiences of how the team responds to different ways. So if I show up agitated, if I show up off my game, and then these guys see me off my game, now they're off their game, then everybody's off their game, and the balance of everything is all out of whack. So for me and my business, since we're doing heavy equipment, heavy work, and there are lives at stake sometimes, depending on the situation, and not always, I have to learn to take my time, stay calm, and make sure that the guys that are on my team, for whatever that project may be, we have multiple teams, but for whatever that project may be, see me calm under all conditions. And that doesn't mean I don't lose my cool, and it doesn't mean that I'm ice cold all the time. But for the most part, I've already learned over the years that there's an answer to a problem. So I've gotten better over the years, and this is something I'm teaching these guys by my actions, right? Like I teach with my words, but my actions do more speaking. Because when the hits the fan, I don't sit in the I take a few steps back and I look at the pile on the floor and I figure to myself, okay, this is the situation we're in. How are we going to get through this? And then I work with my team. See, this is another thing in leadership that I learned. Because my father in the business, again, I bring him into it because I have great experiences with him, but he was a bottleneck to the business. And not just from the perspective of everything needing to flow through him, but he also had a way of operating on the job. He never wanted to take anybody else's thoughts into consideration. And that's where him and I differ a lot. I am somebody that knows that there's a million ways to skin a cat, as they say. And I don't know why people came up with that word, because I don't want to skin a cat, but there's always more than one way to get a job done, and I always am taking into consideration what my guys think, because they're the ones doing the heavy lifting. So if somebody comes up with a good idea, I'm not like Mr. Ideas. I don't have all the ideas. I'm giving my ideas based on my experiences. But there have been many a time when I've been able to take a step back, look at the project before we even start. You know, yeah, I've seen the job already, and then when we're on the job and we're getting ready to do the work, and we're taking those couple of minutes, we're stepping back, we're communicating with each other, and we're coming up with the best way to do things, especially when your guys are in the field a little bit more than you are. Like at this present day, I'm not out as much as I used to be, right? I'm more like bouncing around as opposed to like being on the jobs, but I take what my guys say to heart, and then a lot of times I go in the direction that they want, as long as I see that there's no discrepancies or no one's going to get injured. And those things are super important. So when you realize at the end of the day, calm under pressure builds trust and loyalty. Always does. You know, if you think about it, right? If I'm chill, they're chill. You know, if I'm chill trying to make a decision, they'll stay chill making a decision. If I'm chaos and I'm losing my mind, guess what? There's going to be chaos and they're going to lose their mind. And I know this is a lot easier said than done. And I know it comes off as very obvious. But the truth is, some people really don't understand or realize. And I get it. You get into your situations. Each individual situation unto itself is different, obviously, depending on the job. But how you come to the job, how you operate on the job is so important. And I'll give you a quick example, and then I'm going to end this video because I think you get the point. But I had been reading Extreme Ownership, and for any of you guys that have read that book, it's Jocko Willink wrote it. It's all about leadership. And I mean, he talks about leadership in military situations, but we're talking about war. So what is more stressful than war? Clearly doing boiler work is not more stressful. So he was talking about leadership. And it's funny because I had just read a couple of chapters in the morning, and then I went to this job, and my guys were supposed to do a project, and they ended up doing something completely different that they weren't supposed to do. They eliminated all these oil lines on this job, and that was not the scope of work that they were supposed to do. They were supposed to do something very simple as it pertains to oil, and they ended up removing all the oil lines. Now, my old self would have showed up to the job and would have completely lost my mind. But when I read his passages, and he was talking about how keeping calm under those situations and using times like that as a learning experience and getting more out of the guys by showing up and saying, okay, taking it more on my chest. And that's why you've heard me come on here, and I'll continue to say it. When my guys mess up, I almost have to look internally. Unless I completely spell it out and they still do the opposite, that's different. But if I don't spell out to them specifically what I'm asking for and they make a mistake, that's on me. That's you as a leader need to take that one on the chin, because at the end of the day, it's important for me to lay the steps out clear and concise. And when they don't do the thing they're supposed to do, I have to take responsibility. So when I showed up that day and I realized they took all the piping down, I stayed calm. I didn't lose my shit. We discussed it, and I actually stayed on the job and helped them repipe it. We got everything back up and running, and it worked out perfectly fine. Now, we had to take the L on some of the material, but we were able to reuse a lot of the material they removed. So we put everything kind of back the way it was supposed to be, and we actually made things a little bit better in the end. So it all worked out. My point is, I stayed cool, calm, and collective, and this is the most important situation when it comes to leadership under pressure. I cannot repeat this enough, and I know this video is a little bit longer than my normal videos, but this one is so important to me, and it's near and dear to my heart. Because it's important to me to be a good leader. I want the idea of having a business is to grow other leaders. I want to grow new leaders. Me as a owner of my company, it's my job to mold and bring forth new leadership. People that think like I think, you know, or think the way they think, mixed with some of the ways that I've taught them to create an even better leader than I even am. And that's okay. That's evolution. That's how things go. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. I hope you guys got something from this, man. This is a very powerful topic. Yes, it seems simple on the surface, but when you really dive into it, next time you're on a job, next time you're having a problem, even if you're the apprentice on a job, realize that the person who's leading is going through their own. Hopefully the people you're working under are a little bit more like I am now, and that's not to boast, but keep it cool, keep it calm, I'm telling you, you'll win in the end. Yo, I appreciate you guys, as usual, being here. If you guys got any comments, questions, concerns, thoughts on this topic, maybe some other topics you'd like to hear me talk about, don't be afraid. Drop a comment below. It truly means the world to us. If you stayed till the end, we appreciate it. Please subscribe to the channel. Smash the like button. We're really putting a lot of effort into these videos, and we appreciate the out of you. I hope you have an amazing day. Enjoy the weekend. Keep crushing it. Keep killing it in your business. Peace.